Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really tearing into something fascinating. We've got these sources that suggest maybe, just maybe, culinary genius isn't always about complex techniques.
Right, sometimes it's about smart shortcuts, and this one's a doozy.
It really is. We're talking cherry cheesecake pizza. Our mission today, figure out how you take, get this, 4 really simple ingredients and turn them into something. Well, something bakery-worthy.
And one of those ingredients is definitely unexpected.
Really unexpected. We're looking at a block of cream cheese, standard enough,
Hmm.
cherry pie filling, okay? A no-bake cheesecake mix, that's the shortcut part. And then a can of refrigerated pizza crust.
Pizza crust.
Exactly, pizza crust. So, okay, how on earth do you engineer that into something like a New York cheesecake experience? Let's unpack this.
Well, what's really interesting, and the sources point this out, is how cleverly this recipe tackles structure. It seems like these ingredients were picked specifically to avoid the usual baking pitfalls.
Like what pitfalls are we talking about?
Things like stability, getting the texture right,
Mhm.
precision in measuring, and of course getting the crust perfect, which can be tricky.
Okay, let's start right there. The crust. That feels like the biggest gamble. The recipe says take that refrigerated pizza dough, roll it out, and pre-bake it. 400 degrees Fahrenheit, about 10 minutes till it's golden brown.
Precisely. And that pre-baking step is key. The insight here is all about structure. Like you said, this pizza crust, it's not just fast, it basically acts like a heavy-duty shortbread replacement.
So no messing with rolling out fiddly pastry or blind baking with weights.
None of that. And you don't need a springform pan or that whole water bath setup you sometimes need for cheesecakes. The pizza format kind of solves all that. It's quite ingenious, really.
But I have to ask, can pizza dough, even pre-baked, really taste right for a dessert? Isn't it going to taste, well, bready? Or does that pre-baking somehow make it neutral?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It basically becomes a neutral canvas. That pre-bake is absolutely essential, mainly to stop it getting soggy once the creamy topping goes on. But the sources emphasize that the cheesecake filling itself is so flavorful, really sweet, a bit tangy. It pretty much dominates. So what you mostly get from the crust is the texture.
That's crispness.
Exactly, that satisfying crispness giving way to the creamy filling. Though there is that subtle fresh bread smell when it bakes, which actually adds a nice sort of homemade sensory touch.
All right, so the crust gives us the structure, the base. Now, the creamy layer. This is where the cheesecake promise has to come through. We're mixing softened cream cheese with that no-bake cheesecake dip mix.
And this is the genius shortcut. That dip mix does all the heavy lifting. Think about it from a commercial perspective.
Yeah.
Almost these mixes are designed for consistency.
Right, so they work reliably.
Yeah, regardless of, humidity or whatever. It adds the sweetness, the cheesecakey flavor, and crucially, the stability. So you don't need to add extra sugar or worry about getting gelatin to set just right. It just thickens up perfectly. You get this thick, luscious layer instantly.
And then the final touch, visually anyway, is spooning that glossy, bright red cherry pie filling over the white cheesecake base.
It looks fantastic.
It really does. It looks like you spent hours, but it's incredibly simple.
And that just shows, presentation doesn't always require massive effort. That color contrast does most of the work. The sources mention optional extras like crushed nuts or maybe graham cracker crumbs.
To bring back some of that traditional crunch.
Exactly. It just adds a little textural element back in that you might miss from a standard graham cracker crust.
So, boiling it all down for the home cook.
Yeah.
What does this recipe really tell us? It seems like its success comes down to being super accessible, really fast, ready in under an hour, though most of that is chill time, right? About 45 minutes?
Yeah, about 45 minutes in the fridge to set properly. So accessible, fast, and incredibly flexible.
Okay, let's talk about that flexibility. That seems to be the real magic here, according to the sources. How far can you push this idea?
Honestly, quite far, as long as that basic structure works. This recipe kind of breaks the unwritten rule that a dessert base has to be pastry or shortbread. Swapping flavors is the whole point.
So not just cherry.
Definitely not. The sources suggest things like an apple cinnamon version, maybe with a caramel drizzle, or even S'more's pizza with broiled marshmallows on top. It really encourages you to play around.
Which really brings home the idea that cooking doesn't have to be about following rules perfectly. It's more about creativity.
Yeah.
Using what you have to make something memorable.
Exactly. And there's that feeling, too. Watching it come together, smelling that crust baking.
Yeah.
It's satisfying.
Definitely. Okay, so a couple of practical tips from the sources before we wrap up. It keeps well in the fridge.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days, apparently, if you cover it tightly. And they recommend wiping your pizza cutter between slices.
Ah, for clean edges. Good tip.
Just keeps it looking neat. But the bigger takeaway, I think, is how empowering it can be to take simple stuff, pantry staples even, and transform them. You're basically mastering substitution.
Right. It's not just following a recipe. It's understanding why it works.
Mm-hmm. And that opens up a lot of possibilities.
So the final thought for you listening. What other unlikely pairings might be lurking in your pantry right now? What could become your next surprising dessert hit? That's something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. Ooh.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.